There is a distinct moment in nearly everyone's life where they look in the mirror and realize the person staring back isn't who they thought they'd be. Behavioral shifts often collapse when they lack a supporting identity to hold them in place. Look at this simplified map of the brain's neural network. The moment you consciously challenge an old belief, your brain starts a physical process called neuroplasticity. The neural connections tied to your old habits weaken, and fresh pathways begin to form as you physically reshape your own mind. But this physical rewiring creates a biological paradox. We want the reward of change, but we encounter the friction that makes it possible. As those new neural pathways try to establish themselves, the old system fights back, making growth feel like chaos. Cognitive scientists often call this resistance homeostasis. It is a defense mechanism where your brain tries to keep your sense of self consistent. When you start acting in ways that don't align with who you believe you are, your mind registers a threat and tries to restore the old balance. Early psychologists recognized this friction as essential. Carl Jung described it as individuation, the work of gathering the fragmented, hidden parts of the psyche and integrating them into a unified whole. Psychologist Abraham Maslow saw this same struggle as the path towards self-actualization. He viewed this internal pressure as the mechanism that allows a person to gradually unfold their full potential. This psychological discomfort represents the physical brain being forced out of its predictable pathways. It is the sensation of an old identity losing its control. Enduring that friction pushes you into the liminal phase. You are standing in an uncertain void, having left behind the person you were, but not yet reaching the person you are becoming. This mirrors Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. An individual must leave the comfort of their familiar world, face inner trials in the unknown, and eventually return transformed. While you are in that void, the default mode network becomes highly active. This is your brain's center for self-reflection, working to rewrite the personal story you tell yourself about who you are. Passing through this phase requires radical honesty. You must acknowledge hidden fears and integrate them with compassion, rather than trying to attack or suppress them. You also need a deeply supportive environment. If your surroundings reinforce your old habits, your brain receives conflicting signals. Lasting change requires an external world designed to support the person you are becoming. When your actions and beliefs don't match, you experience cognitive dissonance. Most people relieve that tension by reverting to old habits, but those who truly evolve let the discomfort stay long enough to force their old beliefs to change. Self-compassion physically alters how the brain functions during this transition. When you approach your own discomfort with curiosity, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, calms down. This grants the prefrontal cortex the energy it needs for reasoning and long-term growth. Once the rational and emotional centers integrate, your internal world reaches a state of coherence. Your unconscious defensive reactions become conscious, deliberate choices. Growth occurs in a cyclical pattern. You revisit familiar lessons and challenges at progressively higher levels of awareness, meeting old problems with new wisdom. The psychologist Viktor Frankl noted that when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. While external control is limited, our internal capacity to assign meaning is infinite. Psychological transformation involves shedding the conditioned masks learned in childhood to survive in the world. It is the gradual loosening of identification with a constructed self. This process uncovers the authentic, unconditioned self that was always there beneath the noise. It is the experience of finally coming home.